Hello, I'm in the bed, but I thought I would share with you the story from the last round about my trip or the journey with Vipassana. And this was about day one that I was talking about. And this is going to continue. So I don't know if you're interested to keep on listening, but I had this report done 25 years ago, and I'm reflecting back everything as I read. So to me, it means something. Some major thing happened. So I'm just excited that I can read this as much as I may remember as I read what happened. In the last video, I almost choked because the memory is so strong 25 years ago. Anyway, day one, we were talking about the Anapana breathing and Vipassana inner body sensation in meditation to pay attention to, so that we may get the sense of mind and body somehow connected. We think they are separate, but in the same body, human construct, there's a connection to it. And my view is that the body is where the law of nature is manifesting, and that's the origin of how we developed before we added our brain and ate the fruit of knowledge and start to play. But we shouldn't forget where our home, I call it the eternal home, like Garden of Eden, that where we came from. So this Anapana and Vipassana is to connect to that. But since we are busy in our mind, the connection may not be so simple. I'm so used to it. So even if I am talking like now, I can feel this sensation in the body. It's amazing sensation. You may not believe it, but it's kind of like into nirvana. What's the word? The blissful sensation of your being can be found when we connect to it. So we came from that, and we have that. But it's almost like a rediscovering. To say it different, go back to the Garden of Eden. I just have a smile just thinking of if I can communicate and to share this sense and be happy by connecting to the heart and body, not just playing the mind and getting confused. And if you can connect to the heart, you have a better perspective of life, what to do, what's important, not just caught up in the logic and ego and all sorts of language that can have misinterpretation and potential danger. So directly experiencing who we are from our body is very important. So let me continue. I'm going to start from this one. Yeah, I said that when this skill develops, the mind and body unify. Bodily sensations become a direct indicator of our lived experience. Perceiving subtle sensation reveals the constant flux of existence. And I say later I experienced a sense of bodily transparency in this state. So Vipassana facilitates living in harmony with nature, achieved through a calm, aware, and equanimous mind. By observing bodily sensations without reaction from our mind, natural laws begin to dissolve. Blockages, between the brain and the body. There's some kind of a missing connection that I was talking about. So if that blockage dissolves, this process, even though this process may take time and effort, but it's essential to experiential understanding of what life is about. So ultimately, Vipassana is about witnessing nature's effects and living with awareness and equanimity, so your mind is calm and quiet, to transcend the conditioned responses, which is like a negative bad habit, karma, which we may have gained somewhere without us knowing it. But that's part of our growth. So in this first day, the practice is this, that the initial practice focused on establishing the meditation routine. New students meditated for 2 hours. My roommate slept through this time. Well, I diligently practiced. This guy was a guy from San Francisco. He was working at the prison as a supervisor, and he snored a lot, and we were sharing the small room, and I was okay. He was sleeping not far away and big noise. I'm focusing on my breathing and went sleep. Good memory. We didn't talk until the last day. Then I knew what his background was. So later they introduced this Vipassana. I don't know the name, but it's the prison in San Francisco. Anyway, my back pain from a recent neck nerve pinch made sitting difficult. So that 2 hours I did. However, the day was relatively easy compared to those following days. The focus on breathing recalled the Rinzai koan. This is the Zen koan. What is going in and out of your face. If you don't understand, see or experience. The memorable event of the first day. There are 2 items, I think, yeah. A bright star in the sky. After the first morning sitting, walking in silence with others. Sitting is meditation in the hall. We walked out of the hall in silence. A sense of shared determination moved me to tears. I remember that. No one is talking, moving from the door and going down the trail to eat something. And there was a bright star in the sky. Walking to the dining area under a starry sky, I reflected on Buddha's enlightenment. There's a story about it. The story is when he sat by himself, and one morning he looked up the sky and saw the bright star. And that's when he got enlightened. The starlight went through him, I believe, I feel, and opened up the channel to be awakened. Anyway, I felt as we walked down a sense of nobility in our shared purpose of being there. Now, I questioned the meaning of my tears and asked the teacher, his name is Julian Cohen, I will never forget that, about Buddha's Goenka's experience with tears. What happened? His response was, tears are a natural process. We have the rule that we don't talk with anyone, eye contact or anything, But if we have some question, we have a slot at the daytime after lunch. So you line up, and when you're called, you can get in and talk to the assistant teacher. So they give you some kind of a guidance, like my question about the tears. I just wanted to talk and have some experience of talking with this assistant teacher. There are a couple of them. The man that I was talking with, this one, and there's a lady who did with the female end of the, interview or question and answer. And they come and sit with us, not all the time, but their main job is to guide people. If there's any problem, they can answer because there's nobody else to talk. And they don't get paid for what they do. Some of them may have gone through, I think all of them, most of them have gone through 45 days of meditation, something like that. So anyway, that's just the story after the setting and the bright star in the sky. There's another story. It says the story of a grasshopper. So this is at the lunchtime. A grasshopper triggered memories of fly fishing I did and caught a large trout. This is in Yellowstone. So I was eating lunch and this grasshopper just passed by. And when I saw that grasshopper, then I noticed a subtle change in my breathing. I even have it written that it was faster breathing in the left nostril. And I thought that's the sign of creating, because what happened is that there's a fly you make in fly fishing, and that's how you catch the big trout. So when I saw that, I didn't write it here in this report, which you can read. I put it into the description. So I'm just going through what I wrote down, 25 years ago, as if to recall memories as I read, and saying a few more words than what is in there. So what happens is, I mentioned about mind and body connection, and the feeling can be detected if you are paying attention to the breathing. That kind of surprised you have a breathing change, and when you have the grasshopper flying, I remember a good time, and then breathing changes. So I knew instantly at the time, this is the technique. If you know it, not just the brain, but this is more immediate. Nerve system in the body is much quicker than going up to interpret in the brain. So that if you feel the change, that's like a anchoring mechanism. Be careful, you are reacting something like that. So it says, I recognized and dismissed this thought of craving, realizing the technique's practical application. So that was very important. And I was quick enough to pick up that idea. And I thought, wow, that's profound. So that night, this is a snoring story. My roommate's snoring didn't disturb me because you're focusing on the breathing techniques to fall asleep. It's a good real-time meditation that you practice to get the hang of it. So this reinforced the importance of applying the technique in real-life situations, aligning with Zen emphasis on integrating practice into daily life. Let me see how much time I spent. There's 5 minutes left. Let me go into the day 2. The technique on day 2 is a continued focus on breathing, but now concentrating on the sensation between the nostril and the upper lip. Before it was wider area, now it's getting much tighter. Theory: experiencing what is going on, directly, not in your mind. immediately. So you sharpen the mind for Vipassana, which is to start on day 4, by directly experiencing sensations in this small area. So what it means is that the reality is found in direct moment-to-moment experience, not in the concept. We think concept, this is ridiculous. We often think concept is like a super important and everything, but that's not. It's just kind of like a one piece of the reality expressed by the formula or words, and the reality is like this. You cannot write it. So, like a breathing situation, change of the breathing indicates something is going on immediately. That's direct experience. And if you have that, your reaction is much more like a samurai. You're aware to that reaction and deal with it instead of conceptually understanding what happened with that, grasshopper, that example I was talking about, and start to think about, oh, that was such a great day, and that guy was there, and then we have this example, but this problem happened, and your mind start to go into somewhere else, which is, to me, kind of like a delusion. It is delusion. You may be fine and interesting to be like that, but in the meantime, the world is moving on, and the earth is spinning, and the grasshopper is already gone, and you're left with this. I mean, it's okay to be in that imagination in your life, but if the imagination goes back to the bad experience, for example, a sad experience or upset experience, and you dwell on it, that's not smart. And if when you do that, and if you don't notice you're doing it, you get digger and digger in that experience in your mind, which is reinforcing the bad or the good experience, but it may twist from really understanding what's going on at this moment. So experiencing what's going on directly is totally important. If we don't have it, it's almost like a fake life. Well, I shouldn't say that, but that's pretty much it. And it may be okay if the image is all good and you're happy with it, but it doesn't go just one direction because you are off from the ground. You are not grounded, connected to what is going on in reality. So living in modern day life and the books and internet and all that makes us to be detached from the reality and all the fake news and everything, and you get you get into it. You need to have another mirror or reference, and that's what we are talking in this. And maybe that's good enough because I don't want to spend too much. I have 2 more minutes. Let me see if I can. So that's just a little comment that I want to make. So let's see. Scientists measure these vibrations, but Vipassana allows for direct sensation. Instead of one step additional, you directly experience. So the sensation itself is awareness. I mentioned this to you. That's awareness. To realize truth. Maybe that's the reason when in Zen they often use slime stick and cuts and all that stuff to make them be awake. But anyway, to realize truth, direct experience is crucial. Free from mental interference. This could be called a zone experience that you get into. I think that might be enough. I don't want to stretch out too much. So that was the second day, and I want to keep on going. I kind of enjoy this. I hope you are picking up some idea. And even though you are not there for 10 days, I think it's good. That it's kind of interesting to know, like my experience. And there's interesting one coming on the 8th day when I had this, I call it having sex with the universe. So if you're patient enough, you may get the sense of how I get there and why I get there. And from that time on, there's more stories, but this one is mainly focused on 10 days. But I want to give you a sense of my experience. Everybody's experience will be different, and their interpretation may be different. But I was serious enough to write this report, which is like 60 pages or something, and condensed to a fewer pages, but still there's meat in it. And for me, it's interesting, and I hope you get the sense of interesting. Just the story of the grasshopper or the stars and, snoring guy and, direct experience and the mind and body connection or misconnection, how to be aware, how to anchor, to be grounded. Those are the basic. It will never go away if you gain. It's like a sports. If you get the sense of how you play, it's like riding the bicycle, except you have to keep on reinforcing it. Okay, I'm gonna go sleep. Hope to see you tomorrow. Good night.